Fast food is more than just food in America. It's part of everyday culture, shaping memories from childhood birthday parties to late-night cravings on the road. But today, that familiar landscape is changing. Even the biggest names in burgers, tacos, and coffee are shuttering hundreds of restaurants. Costs are soaring, consumer habits are shifting, and corporations are reinventing their strategies. In this countdown, we reveal 10 famous fast food chains closing restaurants across the United States right now. And here's what you'll get by watching until the end. You'll know exactly which iconic brands are disappearing, why these closures are happening, and what it means for the future of dining in America. If you care about food, money, or the businesses shaping daily life, this video will keep you one step ahead. Subscribe to Global Lens, turn on notifications, and let's dive in. Chapter 10. Taco Bell. Taco Bell has long been a favorite for value-driven customers, especially for its late-night hours and creative menu. At its peak, Taco Bell was seen as one of the fastest-growing chains in America, expanding aggressively through the 1980s and 1990s. Today, it operates more than 7,000 outlets worldwide. But in 2024, dozens of U.S. Taco Bells shut down, particularly in Ohio, Michigan, and California. In some areas, entire counties lost every Taco Bell location. Franchise owners cited steep food prices, supply chain pressures, and labor shortages. Competition from fast casual chains like Chipotle, which markets itself as fresher and healthier, also cut into Taco Bell's base. The closures reflect a broader shift in American dining. Customers are moving away from the cheapest calories and toward quality and customization, even if it costs more. Taco Bell is still strong as a brand, but in certain regions, it may never return. The Crunchwrap Supreme that defined a generation of late-night meals is now becoming a memory in some towns. Chapter 9. Wendy's. Wendy's, famous for its frosty dessert and square burgers, has had a turbulent journey. Founded in 1969, it grew into the third-largest burger chain in the U.S., trailing only McDonald's and Burger King. But in the last 2 years, cracks have deepened. In 2023 and 2024, Wendy's closed dozens of underperforming outlets across the Midwest and South. Some franchise operators walked away entirely, pointing to rising rents and cutthroat competition. Making matters worse, the company floated the idea of dynamic pricing, where menu items would cost more during peak hours. Customers recoiled, seeing it as surge pricing for burgers. The backlash forced Wendy's to walk back the plan, but the reputational damage lingered. The brand continues to modernize, investing in app-based ordering and store remodels. But closures remind us that even iconic chains can be shaken when public trust is lost. Communities once anchored by a Wendy's drive-thru are now left with empty storefronts, proof that loyalty in the fast food business is never guaranteed. Chapter 8. Dairy Queen. For many Americans, Dairy Queen is more than a restaurant. It's a tradition. Founded in 1940, DQ built its reputation on soft-serve cones and later the Blizzard, which became an instant classic in the 1980s. By the early 2000s, Dairy Queen had more than 6,000 U.S. outlets. But the past few years have told a different story. In 2024, locations in Texas, Minnesota, and Illinois began to close. Franchise owners cited higher rents, labor shortages, and declining traffic. Some could not afford the new equipment and fees required by the corporate office. In small towns, these closures hit especially hard. For decades, the Dairy Queen wasn't just a place to grab ice cream. It was where local teams celebrated wins and where families gathered on weekends. Globally, Dairy Queen is expanding in Asia and the Middle East. But in America, the story is contraction. Nostalgia alone is not enough to survive in an era where customers want convenience and delivery. For families driving past shuttered DQ buildings, it feels like losing a piece of hometown identity. Chapter 7. KFC. Kentucky Fried Chicken was once a symbol of American dining abroad and at home. In the 1970s and 1980s, the Colonel's face was everywhere, and by the early 2000s, there were more than 5,500 KFCs in the United States. Fast forward to today, and over 1,000 of those have closed in the last decade. In 2024 alone, dozens more disappeared without much fanfare. Rising labor costs, aging buildings, and declining sales were cited as causes. Meanwhile, KFC's competitors, Chick-fil-A and Popeyes, were growing rapidly, capturing younger customers with better marketing and streamlined menus. Parent company Yum! Brands has placed its bets on international growth, especially in China, where KFC has more than 9,000 outlets and continues to expand. This global strategy means the U.S. is no longer the company's main focus. For many Americans, that means the once ubiquitous red and white bucket is becoming a rare sight, a sign that the brand's golden era in the U.S. is over. Chapter 6. Burger King. Burger King once defined itself as the rebel chain, urging customers to have it your way. At its peak in the 1990s, Burger King boasted more than 7,000 U.S. outlets and challenged McDonald's for dominance. But in recent years, the gap has widened dramatically. In 2023, Burger King closed more than 400 restaurants as part of a restructuring plan. Many were old, unattractive locations that couldn't compete in the modern fast food landscape. Consumers today demand speed, digital ordering, and fresh presentation, and Burger King's inconsistent experience across locations made it vulnerable. The company has announced a multi-billion-dollar plan to remodel stores and refresh its menu. But empty Burger King buildings across the country tell the story of a brand struggling to find its footing. For communities, the absence is striking. McDonald's golden arches remain everywhere, while Burger King crowns are fading fast. Chapter 5. Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box carved a niche with its oddball commercials and a diverse menu that stretched from burgers to tacos. Founded in 1951, it expanded heavily on the West Coast and into select markets nationwide. But profitability has become increasingly elusive. In 2024, the company stunned observers by shutting down every location in Kansas City. Similar closures spread to other regions, as franchisees complained that inflation and rising labor costs made it impossible to operate. Because most Jack in the Box restaurants are franchise-owned, local operators felt squeezed between corporate fees and shrinking customer traffic. The closures have highlighted the vulnerability of regional brands that lack the scale of McDonald's or Starbucks. For late-night diners and college students, the disappearance of Jack in the Box means fewer affordable options. For the industry, it's a lesson in how fast a chain can collapse when margins vanish. Chapter 4. Subway. Subway's rise was meteoric. By the 2010s, it was the largest restaurant chain in the world by number of outlets, with more than 27,000 in the U.S. alone. But over the past decade, the brand has suffered an equally steep decline. More than 3,000 U.S. Subways have closed in just the last 5 years. Franchise owners cite falling sales, high corporate fees, and relentless competition from fresher, fast casual rivals. Attempts to rebrand with new menu items and digital ordering have only partially succeeded. For many small towns, Subway was one of the few affordable lunch spots. Its closures leave gaps in communities that relied on it as a quick, customizable option. Globally, Subway is still strong, with expansions in Asia and the Middle East, but in America, its empire has cracked. The empty storefronts are a stark reminder that even the biggest player can fall quickly when consumer loyalty shifts. Chapter 3. Starbucks. Starbucks transformed American coffee culture. Since the 1990s, it became the third place between work and home, with cozy seating, Wi-Fi, and a sense of community. At its peak, the U.S. had nearly 15,000 Starbucks locations. But even Starbucks is pulling back. In 2024, more than 400 stores closed, primarily in urban centers. The reasons are tied to remote work. With fewer people commuting to offices, morning foot traffic has dropped. Customers are also increasingly ordering via mobile apps, making large cafe spaces less profitable. Starbucks is not failing, it's evolving. The company is shifting toward drive-through and pickup-only stores, with less seating and more automation. While this makes sense financially, it alters the Starbucks experience. For many, the closure of their local Starbucks means losing a social hub, not just a coffee shop. It signals how work-from-home culture is reshaping even the most dominant brands. Chapter 2. Dunkin. For decades, Dunkin has marketed itself as the brand that America runs on. Founded in Massachusetts in 1950, it grew to dominate the East Coast coffee and donut market. But outside its home turf, the story is different. Hundreds of Dunkin' outlets across the Midwest and West Coast have closed in recent years. Many of these were smaller outlets inside gas stations, but full-size stores have also vanished. The company is doubling down on the East Coast, where its brand remains strongest, while retreating elsewhere. For towns that lost Dunkin', the closures mark the end of a daily ritual. The chain's affordable coffee and breakfast sandwiches were staples for commuters. Now, without Dunkin', morning routines are changing. The retrenchment may strengthen the brand financially, but it leaves much of the country without access to a once universal chain. Chapter 1. McDonald's. McDonald's is the most famous fast food chain on Earth, with more than 13,000 U.S. outlets and a presence in over 100 countries. But even the golden arches are shrinking in America. In recent years, McDonald's has closed hundreds of traditional restaurants. In 2024, it also shuttered its experimental Cosmix spin-off. The closures are part of a strategic pivot. McDonald's is focusing on smaller, faster models with digital kiosks and drive-through only service. These require fewer employees and less space, making them more profitable in today's economy. For customers, that means fewer sit-down restaurants, fewer play areas for kids, and fewer places to linger. Instead, McDonald's is becoming a streamlined machine for speed and efficiency. The brand remains dominant, but its American identity is changing. Communities that lose their McDonald's are losing more than a restaurant. They're losing a cultural touchstone that has defined American dining for generations. From tacos and burgers to coffee and donuts, America's fast food chains are under pressure like never before. Taco Bell, Wendy's, Dairy Queen, KFC, Burger King, Jack in the Box, Subway, Starbucks, Dunkin, and even McDonald's are closing locations. Some are shrinking to survive. Others are reinventing themselves for a digital delivery-driven future. The key takeaway is this: no brand, no matter how iconic, is safe from economic pressures and cultural change. By knowing which chains are retreating and why, you're better prepared to understand how America's food landscape is evolving. To stay informed with insights that matter, subscribe to Global Lens and turn on notifications. Keep watching, and you'll always have the edge on the trends shaping the world around you.